everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad to be with you today at the Quartz Network Summer Event. My name is Grant Ecker. I am the chairman and founder of the Chief Architect Network, a 501c6 nonprofit professional association of chief architects across the Fortune 500. If you happen to be a chief architect tuning in today, please apply to join us at chiefarchitectnetwork.com. There's no cost. It's simply a place for us to collaborate as peers. My personal background, I was the global chief architect at Danaher, Walgreens Boots Alliance, Medtronic, and I helped to build the architecture practice at Lowe's Home Improvement. I'm very excited to share with you a story today called Architecture Driving AI Innovation. It's something that we developed as a part of the Chief Architect Network and something I'm excited to walk you through today. So we're going to travel on a bit of a journey to discover how we navigate AI in our organizations and how architecture can help support that deployment inside of our companies. So we'll start by boarding the SS Artificial Intelli ship. So welcome aboard. Now, this ship is a bit exciting and we have a bit of work to do. So we're going to have different roles to play inside of our crews. So I'll ask you, as you're kind of listening to this conversation, to choose your role. Are you the business out front on the bow of the ship, driving and seeking to put AI everywhere? Are you the captain, looking to solve problems together across the captain and the crew to really connect and bring our solutions to bear? Are you in the engineering room, helping to power the boat and ensure that we have the right solutions to ensure our success? Are you in the bridge, guiding and saving the IP or enforcing and ensuring we're aligned with our guardrails? Or are you planning the next phase? Choose your position, and you might have several as we start to navigate into this journey together. Now, one bit of a caveat here, the generative AI prompts I used were not biased, but the results were. So I unedited them to illuminate the guilty. And we start off here where we see a bird that had one too many Red Bulls. So keep that in mind as you're kind of enjoying the show today, because we have a little bit of an imperfect reality in AI, which is why our work is so important to bring forward the right solutions. So let's look at the scene that we're in today. It's rough seas, right? The business is moving ahead with or without us. How do we support our business while helping them stay above water? That is the key question we have. And we open our scene of this movie with a very familiar picture. The business is on the bow of the SS Artificial Intelli ship, love-struck, looking at how beautiful the AI is and where we can go. But if you zoom in a little more, their faces look weird, and it appears that Leo has a gun. So stepping into this space, this moment where we have this love-struck compete or die perspective, is something we're really got to pay attention to, because these business leaders, they're seeking the company's AI guidance, but they are going to move forward regardless of kind of how this pans out. So they're going to chart their own course if they're blocked or in the absence of a path forward. So it's really on us to ensure that we set them up to be successful, because if we don't, a sad scene unfolds in front of us. Now, there's clearly room for two people on this raft, but Leo's being dramatic and is probably not going to make it. And we know how this ends. It ends with leaking our key assets and insights to the broader industry. It ends with AI's hallucinations in our work and really causing a challenge with our products, where messages get to customers that don't make sense, or worse, commit us to things we don't mean. Or we have inaccuracies in our products, bias in our decisions. Perhaps we're using AI in a way to navigate our HR workforce. Well, if it's making decisions without a human getting involved, we can get some pretty dangerous outcomes there that really impact people. We could have absent AI strategy, where we end up with disjointed AI tactics, which causes increased costs and subpar outcomes across the board. So this is a pretty dire tale. Fear not. The captain's ego has entered the room. So this could be our chief architect. It could be your chief AI officer, which is an emerging role out there. This is the place where we're going to start to navigate our path. And this leader, and it often is an architect leader at times, or at least an architect leader is involved in this process, is where we start to navigate AI's high seas that you can see out the window. We're going to align our key use cases. We're going to drive design collaboration. We're going to create the guidelines and guardrails, which becomes the policy across the bridge. We're going to deploy governance. We're going to mitigate concerns we find along the way where things are offline from what we actually hope to achieve. And we're going to unify our vision and set the course. So this is where we want to go together. And the first thing the captain does, or one of the things the captain does early, is find their way down to the engine room, where we have AI's tech heroes in the engine room building out the solution and driving our ship forward. Now, you might notice that one of our particular engineers looks a lot like Gordon Ramsay, and we have one of them stuck in the engine, it appears. But that aside, in this room, we're going to sort through some key things. We're going to bring together the architects, the InfoSec leaders, the data leaders, and the solution leaders to figure out what are the things that are working today? What are the things that aren't working today? Where are we ready to bring together our practices and kind of form a common strategy? And where do we need to keep innovating and trying out different things to learn together? How do we consolidate the ones that are ready to be mainstreamed? And how do we expand those deployments to make them supportable while communicating the wins? It's a great opportunity to bring folks from this engine room up to the bridge and celebrate their successes. And we have that opportunity, which is pretty exciting. And as we think about this moment, I'd like to take you into a bit of research that I've developed with a friend of mine in the Chief Architect Network. This is called the Architecture Innovation Pipeline. It starts in the architecture leadership zone, where we're going to help curate that demand initially, and then it moves into the support zone. In that leadership zone, we start with discovery, where we have limited knowledge about solutions with unproven adoption across the market, and we're seeking to classify it. Then we move into explore, where we have some basic knowledge and some external adoption, and we're going to summarize. We move then into the develop phase, where we have siloed knowledge, and internal adoption starts as we pilot these solutions. We then are transitioning out of leadership and into supporting as the organization is ready to pick this up and run with it, where we have dedicated teams that are deploying these solutions and expanded adoption, where we're really seeking to deploy these things more broadly. And then we have the embed phase, where it's something that's really taken off, and we want to make it widely available and the knowledge to be widespread with the adoption as well as we optimize these solutions. So as I take you through this model, I'd love to just take a moment and acknowledge my colleague and fellow network member, Arshad Mohammad, the chief architect at Hilton. He and I co-developed this, especially in the early parts of this model where Arshad stepped in the digital health space to kind of outline how we look at this particular space and understand how technology is going to support us in our business needs. And it ends with some methodology I've been using my whole career around bringing together teams to execute. So it's been a really fun partnership with him and something I've continued to use 2 and 3 jobs later in really codifying innovation as an architect. So it starts really with a funnel. And you're going to notice these balls coming into this space and kind of falling in different places. And this is a good thing. We're ultimately understanding which solutions are going to resonate and cause us to deliver on our business vision, and what things aren't going to really have the cost and value justification, or they might just be distraction. So we actually want things coming into this cycle and into this funnel and exiting this funnel at various points. And as we take the things in the funnel forward, you're going to notice them move into a very familiar shape. There's a bit of a hype curve element to this, right? As we discover things externally, we get excited at the trade shows. Wow, this thing's amazing. And then as we bring it into pilot, we're going to explore it and start to really learn about where its limitations are. And then as we develop, build, and embed, we grow out of those limitations and strengthen our position, or we exit those solutions as they don't deliver on the promises that we had hoped. So we start this really in the discover phase, looking at how we're going to classify things. And now we're going to start to look at where things are adopting and move them forward. So we learn about something at a trade show, and it seems pretty solid, but we don't really yet know if it's something that's going to add value. So we start by taking our business strategy and understanding what are the key business capabilities we need to be able to drive forward and achieve that vision. So we might need some capabilities in sales. We might need some capabilities in business management. We might need some capabilities in technology and information. Great. Well, how does the solution that we saw at that trade show line up to them? Where does it help us with what we can't do yet? Okay. This is important for any solution, AI or otherwise. We should always do this. We can't just put in toys because they're cool. They need to make sense in what we're trying to drive in our business. So then we map, okay, for this technology, it covers a lot of the sales things and it covers a few of the business management and a lot of the information things we need. But there's a lot of customizations in technology in order to achieve it. That's one for us to watch for. Okay, got it. So then we start to look at the vendors themselves and understand, okay, so this is something that would add value for us. Is this vendor going to be around in a while, right? Or what's their size? What's their revenue? What are their other customers? And how satisfied are those customers with the solution? What results are they seeing? You want to take that into account and then kind of also plot the solution in a 4-blocker. What's the completeness of execution? What's the completeness of vision? And start to understand it compared with other solutions in the space. And then we go into the typical process to assess, looking at a demo or doing a security assessment, understanding in the AI space, are they going to build a third-party knowledge graph outside of our solutions, outside of our protected space? Or is it something that is the knowledge and AI components are all contained in the solution? And then we ultimately move into solution selection, where I'll reference another colleague of mine, Ed Horn, who created the BTFO, which is the business, technical, ops, and financial views of solutions. And if you see green, it means we don't have a concern. If you see yellow, we have some concerns. We try to explain it with 1 or 2 words. And then if you see red, it's something that we probably couldn't sustain or we need to really keep an eye on. So in this case, we're just choosing between allowing a solution or blocking it, but you could be 3 or 4 columns here with a couple different solutions and ultimately a recommendation that you can tee up to your CIO and their team and broader stakeholders so everyone can understand at the end of the day why we're looking at a particular solution or why we're not. Next, we're ready to pilot the solution that we've selected and bring that into our develop phase. We start this out by helping the primary platform with what they're trying to establish. We, as the architecture practice, bring together the other domains that are going to be involved in creating that solution. So if it's is it going to have a data element to it? Is it going to have a cloud element to it? A security component? Is the business problem well solved? Or do we want to look at a business architect and their engagement? And those folks bring in the subject matter experts. So this is how we do domain-driven design to really build out the most supportable approach for that particular pilot, which might grow into a full-blown adoption. Well, now that we have this ready, we're kind of ready to go to the other place we need to navigate as captain, which is the bridge of corporate bureaucracy. Welcome. Now, this crew clearly needs more diversity, and we have a mayday in our captain's face. But that aside for a moment, there's 2 things you're going to find up here. 1, life jackets, and 2, vomit bags. I think we've all seen this. But kidding aside, we do some very important work up here in the bridge. We're the ones actually figuring out the North Star we want to keep as a company. What is the artificial intelligence plus human intelligence decision policy? Are we going to let AI make decisions about staff cuts? Or are we going to require a human to be in the loop on those decisions, if not, even not using AI in particular cases for particular reasons? Usage of AI tools. Not all cases are going to be something we're comfortable with. For example, we might love using sentiment analysis on video and voice calls with customers to narrow in on what's most important to our customers, where they've agreed to have their voice recorded. And we can now understand how we sort of iterate and make sure we're both addressing their concerns with negative sentiment and their things they love with positive sentiment in a more focused way. But those tools might not be appropriate to be used internal on business calls within our own employee base. That could be misused, and it might be something that's not that comfortable with folks. People might step away and be less comfortable attending meetings. So you have to watch the cultural elements that are in play of a recorded, agreed consumer call versus an on all the time, always being analyzed by AI type of an environment. How about data and IP guidance? So some things might be right for some solutions, but we're probably not going to take it, if we worked at Coca-Cola, our secret recipe, and plug it into ChatGPT. We would be a little unwise to make that step. So instead, what we look at doing is, if we have Low risk scenarios, like I'm visiting Washington, D.C. with my team, use ChatGPT, figure out where you want to go visit, what sites you want to take in while you're there for business. But if you're going to be actually developing some IP and some product designs, make sure you're using a private chatbot, something that we have control over that's not learning from us externally. And for our most sensitive use cases, we might build our own tooling. Like when we're building cures for cancer, we probably don't really want to have that even going too far externally. And sometimes the latency of those solutions can be a concern as well. Controls and reviews. So this is where we want to actually embed the things that we say are important into our processes to make decisions. We'll talk about that in a moment. We also have the pieces around ethics and reporting. To see something, say something. We have an entire employee base. Let's ask them, as opposed to trying to get perfect solutions out there, when they see concerns. Let's train them on how AI works, where they're going to see it in the most common places in their different lines, and then where they can express issues if they see them, so that we can understand that and re-engineer our solutions as problems occur. We have thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of associates, depending on your company size, that can help us in our path. Let's make sure we leverage them. Well, that was nice. We've just done some nice upgrades of our navigation systems, haven't we? We have a nice little data loss protection hull upgrade. We've got some new navigation systems. We've also got some UX safety and IT controls in place. Pretty nice. Now we need to apply the AI policy into our existing processes: legal, IP, security, procurement, the architecture review board, and deploy safe tools and redirections as well as training. So we have a process in legal to look at solutions today and the contractual language with procurement. Wouldn't we want to add in a subroutine there that might look at, or a sub-process there that might look at the AI components for those solutions and ensure that the knowledge graph is secured and protected as a part of the estate, not something that an external group is learning from us, or that the models are leveraging the right approach, or that we retain ownership of the models in the cases where we're developing AI as a part of this, not just renting a solution. Safe controls and redirections. We might notice that some browsers have an AI button in them. And if you're not logged into that browser, you're doing the same thing as ChatGPT, just on your browser. So if we don't deploy the right redirections, associates might think they're safe using the AI button on a secured company webpage, because it's all part of the same experience. But the reality is, if they click the AI button and use it on a secured PDF or other sensitive page, they're actually pushing that entire page's contents to the public GPTs that do learn from our usage. So it's incredibly important that we put in the appropriate safeguards to prevent those kinds of challenges. And then we develop training and communications, again, to equip people to be ready to leverage the solution. So let's jump in and look at how this works. So we were in the pilot phase with our develop phase where we were piloting. And as we start to move into build, we're now ready to take these steps and take each of the areas that are kind of review points in all of our controls and embed the AI components into it. In the architecture space, we might look at the appropriate use that we learned about in terms of describing the sentiment analysis example, bringing those things back to the bridge of corporate bureaucracy where we find a disconnect, right? Hey, this solution is going to have some kind of spy-like implications on, or oversight-like implications on our employee base. Are we okay with that? Let's check in. Or a regional review. We're going to be deploying this internationally. Are the data localization and residency requirements met in how the solution is architected, or do we have to revisit that based on the places we're going to deploy the solution? Same is true across the board in other areas, but just some things to consider. Well, that feels good. We're navigating out of high seas to safety. And while I did ask AI to generate some severe weather for our ship, I did not expect it to put a cruise ship into the air next to the boat. Kind of exciting, but nothing a crop can't fix. Now we're ready to align on our path forward, taking our high usage and high value and high risk scenarios and ensuring we have the best AI available to the high value and high risk scenarios, and that we have commodity and affordable solutions for the high usage solutions. sort of right sizing to the challenge, bringing IT, security, and engineers together to really design the solutions for this space. And as we start to do this, we find ourselves in a better scenario. We're now charting our course on the SSAI for our desired outcomes. And while the gentleman next to the captain almost missed AI face, we're about ready to move into the more established functions. We're going to drive AI adoption with differentiating high AI for high value use cases and low cost shared AI for general use cases, championing the next wave of innovation and business needs together. And we're going to move from this governance phase into the embed phase where we're optimizing and we're looking at all the solutions we're deploying to enable our business across capabilities and seeing how they layer in to prioritize the roadmap to allow us to see where these solutions are hitting and where we still have gaps we need to plan for as an ongoing part of trying to achieve where our business is going. And that closes out our architecture innovation pipeline, moving from discover, where we're classifying, explore, where we're summarizing, develop, where we're piloting, and then moving the transition to the teams that are going to own for the build phase to deploy and the embed phase to optimize, but being a supportive partner in that space as well. Well, here we are. We've navigated the journey and we're ready to take the night. We just have to watch out for the murderous plot to the gentleman behind the captain here. Together, we're ready to take on our roles together to discuss with all hands on deck how we're going to drive, connect, engineer, guide, enforce, and plan to win the AI game. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was a pleasure being with you. My name is Grant Ecker. You can find me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/Grant Ecker. And for those of you that are chief architects, please consider joining us. Go to chiefarchitectnetwork.com. And if you're just interested in topics like this, go on LinkedIn and follow the Chief Architect Network or YouTube, where we have live stream events and we post events that our members are presenting in, as well as just simply what they're up to. So it's a great way to kind of follow thought leaders that are our members as they navigate AI and other emerging technology. Again, thank you to Quartz for having me. It's a pleasure to join you in the Quartz Network summer event. And I absolutely look forward to the next opportunity to be with you folks. Hope to hear from you, and thanks for listening in today. Have a great rest of the conference.